Hello, you awesome people, and welcome to our October live webinar, Creating a Profitable and Successful Workshop. Now, it's been an interesting webinar. It's a very, very niche topic, and just want to acknowledge our first entrant who actually joined the webinar tonight. It's the awesome Owen Rogers, Small Business Helpers, and check out his business website, theaustralianloan.today, or go to his Facebook page, The Australian Loan. Just want to acknowledge Owen for being the first one in, and thank you big time. Now, tonight, I'm here to talk to you about helping you get more profitable clients, increasing your revenue, and creating more time for what you love. And here's a simple reason why I think you should listen to me. A, I like to believe I'm awesome. No, I'm not that conceited, but I like to believe I'm awesome due to my hard work. I've worked thousands of business over the years. Many go from 0 to 6 figures in less than 12 months. And also, I've got a postgraduate in marketing. This is my gift to you. This live webinar is being recorded tonight. So it will also appear in my awesome marketing vault and to part of my community where I share this. So if you haven't hired me, please consider so. Please check out my awesome marketing vault and appreciate any shares or referrals of my content on Facebook. Now, this is general education only. This is my awesome disclaimer. Please don't just listen to this and spend a lot of money and run off in a certain direction. Please use the ideas as you see fit. If you've got any questions, please ask me, because that way I can personalize it to suit you. And let's get straight into the content. You're listening to this live webinar, be it in real time or the recording, to learn how to create profitable and successful events. Now, if you're on the live webinar, please ask me questions in real time, or you can email me afterwards. So let's get straight into it. Now, if I go back in time throughout civilization, from the ancient tribe to the Roman Republic, till Donald Trump today on Facebook Live, trashing the establishment, group speaking is completely powerful. Now, what has actually changed over the years is the way that we do events and the way that we fill events. But what hasn't changed over the centuries, I would argue, is the fact that events are a great way of marketing oneself and connecting people. Now, to me, what's really important about all this is that we've got internet, we've got computers, and we've got all this great stuff that's influencing our lives. But make no mistake, live events are actually more powerful than ever. And in fact, I would actually argue that live events today actually do better than they did in the old days, because there's less live events because everyone's online. Now, what's interesting is that when we talk live events from a marketing point of view, there is so many different options and depth in what we can do. But just going to a very, very simple high level, a workshop is simply delivering content in an informative and live format. That's it. That's at a high level, that's simply what a workshop is. And to me, what's absolutely beautiful about it is it's great for building trust, it's great for getting known, and it's also absolutely fantastic for getting profitable, high-value clients. And there's a lot of different ideas of doing about it. Now, I've done workshops for years now. And especially in 2016, I think my workshops have gone to the whole new level. And they're really good for people who are, let's say, selling ideas. Coaches, consultants, mentors, mortgage people, property people. You do have some live workshops for physical products, especially in the pharmaceutical industry. But quite often, if I look at the majority, 90% plus of cases, it's usually to sell an idea. Now, it's very interesting, actually. Why are live events used in the ideas business? Well, the answer is quite simple, because it's very, very hard to sell an idea without actually demonstrating in some way or another. So I can sit here and say, oh, I'm a marketing mentor and I'll help you get more clients and you should hire me. Easy for me to say that, but it's actually quite difficult for me to demonstrate that. So if you're listening to this live webinar, be it live or the recording afterwards, that actually proves my point. The fact that you're listening to me means you're exchanging with my ideas, and I'm actually demonstrating my knowledge to you. Going to the next level and talking, let's say, in a live workshop format, people have a chance to get to hear from you, learn all your ideas, but develop a complete level of trust for you. And what it comes down to is this, my very awesome friends, is that when we're doing these live webinars, or live events, I should say, live workshops, ultimately we're getting a group of people together. And we have to create a memorable experience of some form and deliver on a range of promises. Now, I'm going to be focusing more on free workshops here tonight, but I will be talking about paid ones as well. But ultimately, it's this. Whenever you invite people to your workshop, you're ultimately asking for something. Even if it's free, like free in inverted commas, it's not really free because you're asking for their time. Let's say you're putting on a free workshop in the city. people are giving up their night to spend it with you. So as a result, you have to make it really good so people want to become part of what you do and become part of that experience. So that is how it works in that regard. Now, as you put on that live webinar experience, that live workshop experience, people are going to assess what you're saying to them. They're going to question what you're saying. And basically, the experience will influence whether they actually hire you or not. And this is what they all come down to. And this is very, very important. You have to deliver a workshop experience that suits the people that you're in or that you're dealing with. Are they a bunch of conservatives? Are they a fun and entrepreneurial group? What sort of group are they? What's their natural style and what are they into? And it's quite simple. To me, this is the starting point that I have. You have to deliver a balance of professionalism and pure fun. You can make something so professional that you bore everyone to death. I actually go to an event every month, which is really, really good. And sometimes they have speakers which are honestly quite boring, and some of their speakers are just fantastic. So the idea that it is an art form, every group is different in its own way, and depending on what you're doing, you want to have a balance of fun and education to really get the point across. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through 10 key considerations that people consider, that I recommend that you consider as part of creating a live workshop experience. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to talk through a lot of ideas. And if you've got any questions, please just type them in and send them to me. Most people actually don't because they're just awesome, but feel free to be more awesome and send them through. So let's get straight into it. Now, when you are running your first event, you got to think about what you're doing in the event and what is the outcome of it and what are the key objectives of it. Now, what's very important is that whenever you're putting on a key event, to me, it's very important that, and talking about it from a marketing point of view, is you've got to have your learning outcomes. You've got to know exactly what you want to educate people on, and you've got to have a business objective. Why are you doing it? Are you doing it just for PR, which I don't usually recommend, or are you actually doing it to actually get clients and get people connected? So it's what I want you to do is don't just put on an event for the sake of it. Really think out the business objective and what you actually want to do with it, okay? Very, very important. And one thing to be careful of too is even though I'm all for fleshing out that business objective of why you're running a workshop, please equally be careful as well. You don't want to say, oh my God, I've got a goal of signing up 1 out of 3 people in the room. Be very careful about approaching it from that point of view. Make sure you don't put too much pressure on everyone there. Already covered this one. What is the audience? What are the natural styles? How do they like to hear and process information? And really, depending on the product that you're selling or that you're offering or what you do, how much actual money are they giving to you? How much actual trust is involved? What does it actually mean? Number 3, this is the actual information that you're actually giving people. It's actually your technology, your ideas, your process and thoughts. Now, what's interesting is that you probably have figured this out by now. If you're listening to this live webinar, you're probably picking up, I've got a certain format and flow about it. That is actually the format that I'm advocating, which I'll actually go into and describe in more detail. But what's very important is that, and I've had this before, I've been to a lot of webinars before, I've been to a lot of live events before, and some of them are really intelligent, and some of them have really just average content that is just dressed up as something amazing, which is truly not. So ultimately, I'll tell you now, what's very important in all your workshops, regardless of the formula or how you go about it, is that you actually deliver ideas that are impressive. They're new ideas, they're exciting ideas, they're ideas that are going to innovate people, and people are going to sit there and say, without hype, wow, that was fantastic content. So ultimately, you got to make a big point when you run these workshops. And the next consideration that I want to bring you to, and don't worry, I'm going through a lot of stuff, but I'll show you exactly what I'm doing at the end of it to sort of paint what I'm doing, and really from that point of view. There are heaps of different group formats you can do. You can do anything from informal meetings in a bar right through to paid seminars and workshops. Now, what's interesting about this, I'm going to sort of focus on the free bit here. You notice that I've got several terms there. Free and paid, what I mean by that is obviously people pay cash to come along, okay? So it's technically not free because people are giving their time, but you know what I mean. It's actual cash. And you notice I've got webinars. Well, that's what you're listening to now. A webinar is a seminar on the web, hence webinar. And you have workshop and seminar. Now, I just want to make a small distinction there. Workshops, and this does vary, this is a very general rough definition. Workshops usually are less than 20 people. So if you have a gathering of less than 20 people, technically speaking, that is a workshop. The moment you cross 20 people, the format changes, the dynamic changes, and it becomes more of a seminar. Now, what a workshop simply is that a workshop is really a good information exchange where people can work together and get to know each other. A seminar is more of a movie type of experience where people can watch, maybe ask the odd question, but it's presented very differently. Now, again, we're talking about workshops tonight. Seminars are very, very good. However, they're for different applications. So tonight and for this recording, I want to focus on less than 20 people. And there's a reason for that. I don't recommend people start going straight into big seminars of 80 to 100 people, which I've done, and I've done very well. I actually recommend people start off with workshops of less than 20 people because it's a great way of building your experience. And also, you tend to deliver a much better experience because what can happen is when you do a seminar, and it's funny, I've learned this the hard way. When, let's say I do a seminar, the moment I sort of cross 30 or 40 people, the experience changes. I don't get across as much information. I can't answer people's questions, and usually the ratings actually drop. So what's interesting is that whenever I've run workshops of less than 20 people, quite often I'll get 5-star reviews. The moment I cross 40, you tend to get more of a variation. Does it make sense because people can't ask questions? Now, you will notice that I've been talking about the event structure quite a bit, about the event structure. And there is a lot of different rules to this, but I actually want to give you some basic ideas for an event structure. And you'll see what I'm doing as well. You can actually see the formula that I've been following. The first thing is the welcome, everyone, naming it and thanking everyone. The second one is introduction, is talking about you and what you do. Framing, that is actually what the event's about because it's really important. Once people get into an event, there's actually a lot of nervous energy in the room. People usually are a bit funny. It's like, okay, I've come to this event. I'm feeling a little bit funny. I'm not sure about this. You need to reassure them, and you can actually feel that. It's interesting. We actually ran one of our events last week, the Profitable Marketing Forum, and we had a great day, picked up a few clients from it. It's all great and all that. But what was interesting, the first half an hour to 45 minutes, people were cold. They were sort of to themselves because they didn't quite know what to expect. And what we've really learned is this. You've got to have a very strong introduction, strong framing, so people know they haven't wasted their time. They know exactly why they're there and they know exactly what they're going to get. You have regular breaks, usually every half an hour to 45 minutes. You have content action points where you actually talk about an idea and you might get people to talk about them on themselves, which leads to a breakout. You have interaction as well. And the way you can do it is get everyone up, say, talk to someone, swap business cards, make friends. You have discussion. You actually don't just broadcast to the audience, you invite them to contribute, you ask questions, you discuss ideas. You have follow-up. Now, follow-up is quite interesting. Follow-up is when you actually ask people in the room how they're going with it on the break because you find out how they're feeling, what they're going. You have selling, which usually what you do at the end, and then you have a really good close and you have post-event review and follow-up. So basically it's this. You run the whole event, you do a great job, you offer your services at the end, and then what you do is you have a post-event review. You sit back and review it, and you stay connected to people, okay? You might follow them up, you might email them, you might call them. It really depends on the model of what you're doing. The other thing is as well, and you notice I've been talking about this a lot, is the critical intangible. What is the actual experience that you're creating? It's got to be fun, it's got to be powerful, and this is quite intangible. But ultimately, you've got to create an experience where people are engaged. They're feeling, wow, this is great, I'm really enjoying it. So that whether they buy your services or not, they walk out of there with a positive view of you. Now, what was interesting, I remember it was about maybe 3 or 4 years ago. These people, I won't mention who they are. I haven't actually heard about them for a long time. But what they were doing is they were doing a course on Facebook or social media or something like that. And they were doing like a free workshop from memory, and they had about 40 people booked in. Now, what was interesting is that when they actually they put it out there as in mastering Facebook, getting more clients and that sort of thing. Now, what tragically happened and what they actually did was they actually didn't give much content at all. All they did was just try and hard sell the audience for an hour or so. And it was a complete disaster. I heard about it for months of people saying these people are this, these people are that. And what that actual workshop did was completely damage their business. So the thing that I actually advocate is make sure you create a great informative experience so people can walk away with something. The other thing is to always check in with people too to make sure you're on the mark, which I'm going to do now. Anyone, if you've got any questions or points, please just type them in the box and I'd love to answer that. Number 7 is the finances, the actual money involved. Now, it's often a big debate that a lot of people have. Do I run a free workshop or a paid workshop? Okay, great debate. And again, there's a whole debate here, and there's two sides to it. And I've seen both people do incredibly well, and I know which side of the camp that I'm in. So what happens is a lot of people put on workshops, be it half day or 2-hour workshops or whatever the case may be. There is often a debate of, do I do it for free or do I make it a paid experience? Now, I'm going to give you the pros and cons of both and then give you my opinion. But by all means, everyone's different, so please do it in your own unique way. Now, the reality is that whenever we do a free workshop, this is the benefits of a free workshop and downside. The advantage of a free workshop is that they're dirt easy to fill. People love free stuff. Even multimillionaires, they think it's great, and they're more likely to jump in there and get in there. The other thing that's really good with a free workshop is it makes you look good because you're actually offering people something for free. So you're actually doing them a favor. Now, without going too much into the art of influence and reciprocity, what actually happens is that when you give someone something for free, subconsciously they feel obliged to cooperate with you and work with you, okay? Which increases your odds of getting hired. And the other advantage of free as well, it just makes you look cool. Now, the disadvantage of free is you don't make any money out of the actual event. And the other disadvantage of it is it can appear to cheapen your service, okay? So hence the advantage of paid events. They can be harder to fill. People have higher expectations, but they usually can be of higher quality and are more likely to show up. So again, there's a debate for each. It really depends on your whole business and marketing ecosystem. But the thing I want to advocate here is that if, and I'll tell you where I sit, I'm more in the free club when it comes to workshops and events because I'm not so much interested in making money out of the actual event. I'm more interested in making money out of them buying my online product or hiring me or whatever the case may be. So in other words, my business model flows into it quite nicely. So you got to think about what you do. You got to think about your business model. But most people do the free events. They're generally the most common, and that's generally the way of doing it. Now, if you're a training company, let's say for argument's sake, and let's say you do $10,000 retreats or something like that, of course you charge for them, okay? So it all depends on your ecosystem, but I'm more talking about workshops from a marketing viewpoint, not so much a training viewpoint, if that makes sense. The other element that you have is the promotion of it. How are you actually promoting that? Now, this is interesting. Be it you're doing a webinar or a live workshop. Ultimately, promotion is very important because this is where a lot of people tend to make it or break it. They may run a workshop, but what they fail to do is actually get enough people in there, and they look very silly. Fortunately, it's never happened to me. I've always dodged bullets on that one. I've always marketed them really well, which you'd expect because I'm a marketing mentor. But a lot of people have gotten into trouble here. Now, ultimately, when you actually have your own workshop experience, you need to fill it. You need to get lots of people in, and you need to create a really, really good experience that people just love. Now, there's heaps of different ways of doing it. You can use your email database. You can also put it on Facebook as an example. You can even call up and invite people to the event, email them directly. Heaps of different ways of actually doing it, okay? And something to really think about. So, for example, if you're, let's say, got a booking link on your website, or let's say you're using the Eventbrite platform, or let's say you're using Meetup, either way, you can share them on social media to try to get as many people to check it out as possible. So the promotion is very important. The operational management is another key element of it. Ultimately, to run an event, there's 100 little bits of details. And I've got about 5 clients this year who've actually started running events. And I was actually at a big client today, and we're actually talking about they run a beauty college, and a very successful one. We're actually talking about running their fortnightly events to kick them all off. Now, what's very interesting is that when you're running an event, something will go wrong, always. Your PowerPoint will die, or the food will be late, or there'll be nuts in something, or whatever, right? Something always goes wrong. And the reason is because there's so many damn variables, and there's so many variables that are out of your control. What the reality is that when you're running events of this nature, is that something will go wrong, but you've got to prepare as much as possible to minimize any damage from that, okay? So it requires planning, strength, and detail focus. And number 10 is the follow-up. So after you run a successful event, what is very important is you actually follow up with people. Now, I've got a great example here. This is one of my big clients who I'm very lucky to work with. They're a military supplier doing military industrial grade silicon. And what they actually do is this, is that you can have a bowl to collect business cards, you might ring people up, you might email them. But what's important is within a few days, usually the day after or 2 days, you've got to have some form of follow-up. That is exactly the way it goes. And just a few mentions as well that I want to sort of go through it as I go through some examples. Take action right now and get straight into it. Now I want to show you just some examples as I also reflect on this. I'm actually going to spend some time talking through some examples of what I do with the goal of giving you some ideas that you can really take advantage of. Because again, there are probably 1,000 different ways you can do it, but I'm just going to tell you what I do and you can make the most of it. Now, you're in a live webinar tonight or you're watching a recording of it, and live webinars are fantastic. Now, what I found works really well is that, and this is the important bit, if you're running an event after hours, 6:30 is a great time to start because usually people might finish work at 5 or 5:30. They've got time to feed the children or whatever, or have something to eat themselves, and then they can come to your workshop. So we actually run events at 6:30. So 6:30, 7 o'clock works really well. With live webinars, we've actually found over the years that running live webinars on Monday, Tuesdays, or even Wednesday nights are really important. The simple reason for that is that you don't want to run events when you're fighting with people's social lives. So if it's Friday night or Thursday night, you're really asking for trouble if you do an event. I actually had someone who tried to do a dinner for entrepreneurs on Friday night. They wanted me to speak at their event. They couldn't fill the event. I sort of told them not to do it on a Friday, but they did. And what actually happened was that they had a bit of egg on their face because they had to can their event. Now, what's very important, my very awesome friends, is that make sure you're running the event on a time that doesn't compete with anything else. So personally, when it comes to live webinars, I love running live webinars on Monday or Tuesdays. In fact, I like running events on Mondays or Tuesdays or Wednesdays. I'll come back to Wednesdays in a minute. Monday nights are very good, and also Tuesday nights are very good. Now, what's interesting is that when you're running a live webinar, I personally like quick live webinars. I aim to finish at 7:30 tonight, unless I've got lots of questions, but you run the webinar from, let's say, 7 to 7:30. It works great because what it does is it forces me to be quick, efficient, and also I don't want to keep people here the whole night. And because they only know it's half an hour, you get great patronage and people getting involved. So that's the first thing. What I like doing is in the case of live webinar, you run a live webinar, you fill it, and you just go through content very quickly. And that's actually a lead page. Now, live webinars are a different discussion, but they're very, very good. Now, the bit that I also want to focus on is actually running the real world workshops. Now, this is a page from my meetup group. It's profitable marketing. If you just want the link to it, just send me an email. I can send you the link. And what we actually do is, you guys are welcome to come. These are in Sydney CBD and sometimes Parramatta. We run live workshops every fortnight, and they work just great. And the way it works is simply this, is that we have a mixture of daytime workshops and evening workshops. Now, the way our evening workshops have worked very well is we run workshops in the evening, and they go from 6:30 p.m. to 7:30, 8 p.m., and it works great. As I was saying before, is we just do Monday or Tuesday nights. The reason being is that those nights are quiet. It's easy to get venues for free. You can do a lot of great work that way. And in that case, we just sit around, everyone has a glass of wine, and we just talk through PowerPoint slides, and it works really well. What's important is that when you're running an evening event, you've really only got an hour, hour and a half. Several reasons for that. People are tired, and also people want to get home at some point. And if you keep them out all night, they're going to be pissed at you. So what's very important is evening events, good. 1.5 hours is really good. You might do it at a leagues club. You might do it at a wine bar. I've seen clients do all sorts of things and do very well. You got to be careful of audio and stuff like that, of course, and there's heaps of different ways of going about it. But again, evening events are that. Now, if you're running a daytime event, if you run daytime events, you can get a bit more time in. So our evening events usually go for about 1.5 hours, and our daytime events usually go for 4 hours. So it goes from 9 to 10, 10 to 11. Yep. So they go from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. And that's 4 hours that people spend with us, and it works incredibly well. We get through content quickly, we cover a lot of ground, and we really arm people with valuable information that sets them up to go to the next level. But what's interesting is that the formats are very similar. And the thing that you'll notice as well is that this webinar that you're actually listening to has a lot of content. I'm moving very quickly, and I'm not screwing anyone around because time is money, and it's very important to make note of that. Now, what's interesting, if I just go back a little bit into all this, is that I'm just going to do a sort of a recap and go through these ideas. When you're actually running your first workshop, take it easy. Please don't go for too many people. You want to go for a smaller audience just to get it right. You want to create a good experience, and what I invite you to do is think about what you do in the context of what you're doing. If you're in the finance industry, for example, you might partner, for example, with a solicitor or a real estate person and talk about great investment properties or something like that. Let's say you're in the coaching space. You might, for example, do a free live seminar where you walk people through a hypnosis or a neuro-linguistic programming exercise, and you give them great value that way. Let's say you're an accountant. You might do a walkthrough demonstration of the Xero platform, which happens a lot, showing people how to do their accounting faster and better and in real time. Let's say, and I'm actually talking about events I've been to, by the way, so I'm not talking hypothetical, I'm talking actual real stuff. Let's say you're a financial planner. You might actually give them great ideas and actual strategies for them to actually increase their wealth and make more money. Let's say you're from Canon, which I've been to. You might do a complete workshop on digital technology and thinking, really showing off the expertise that you have. If you're from Microsoft, which I've been to, you might give a walk through some of your software. Now, you're picking up a theme here. Regardless of the event or how many hours it goes for, people are getting something completely valuable out of it. They're learning something new which justifies their time there. And also you give them, if you can, you give them food, you give them stuff to nibble, you make them feel good, you make it an educational, fun, and pleasant experience. Now, this is the way that it goes. And I'm going to talk about the sell a little bit. And there's a whole debate here that's to be had. Now, there's sort of two camps where it comes on the selling at the end of a workshop. There's the real hard camp and the real soft camp. Now, I'm in the soft camp, but what the hard camp is, and it can work, but it also can be quite controversial. That's when they'll run a seminar and they'll just hard sell people for a few hours, or even I've seen sales pitches go for 2 to 3 hours where they talk about what they have, they talk about their products, they might have a special, there's only 7 spots left, and that type of thing. That can work, and it can actually make a lot of money, but it also can upset a lot of people as well. So I'll give you an example of the big shots that I know that do it and actually make a lot of money. They do mix their reputation quite a bit. So I just want to make just a point of that. Hard selling can absolutely work, but it also can damage your reputation. Now, to me, the camp that I'm in is more the soft selling camp. And this is very, very much of the tech companies. If you look at the tech companies, if you look at the pharmaceutical companies, if you look at, let's say, what I do, I'm very much in the tech company one, which is actually very light on the selling at the end, because ultimately your ideas and products should stand for itself. You give people such amazing ideas, you really help them, and then that way people come to you when they're ready to buy. Now, the debate is that when you hard sell people, people can sign up before they're ready to buy, which I don't really like. Whereas when you soft sell people, you can actually get less sales per event, but you can get more sales afterwards and you develop a better reputation. So just putting them out there. I'll do my sell to you awesome people at the end. Believe me, it'll only take 30 seconds, so don't worry. But to me, that's a whole debate and discussion sort of there. So there's a lot of different things you can do based on who you are, what you're doing, and that type of thing. Now, the other thing that's interesting as well is we use free venues. So when we do our half-day seminars, we've partnered with other people, okay, and it works really well. So we're using their premises for free. So I'll give you an example. Let's say you're a mortgage person and you partner with a real estate person, or you partner with a solicitor, and you can actually use their office and premises. Great idea. It's fantastic and works incredibly well. So there's some of the things. What I suggest you do is, if you are interested in running your own event, you want to give it about 6 weeks for your launch. Now, the night I'm doing this webinar is Monday, the 17th of October. If you started one now, you could, let's say, get something out just before the end of year, because it might take you a month to fill your first one. So let's say it takes you 2 weeks to develop it, and then it takes you 4 weeks to fill it. And then you can start from there. So it works incredibly well. So as a recap, please think about what you want to do. Think about who you're presenting to, do it in their way, give really powerful information, have a really strong group format, and really think it through. Again, I'm more in the free camp here. Have a really good structure to your event. So there's a good flow and narrative, and it makes people feel good. You might even watch this webinar over again to really cover it. Make sure you deliver an amazing experience that people really like and they talk about. Think through the free, whether you're going to do the free or paid path. If you are starting out, I do recommend the free. It is the way to go. Have really good promotion to it. Facebook, LinkedIn, your email database, inviting people directly, it all counts. Run it incredibly well, and remember, mistakes, things will go bad, and also have really good follow-up afterwards. Now, the bit that I just want to go through, and I'm actually going to demonstrate, is how to do the sell. Now, when it comes to the sell, what I usually recommend is that people are quite grateful for what you've already done. If you've got some free materials, it's great to offer them the free materials. So in my case, what I'll do to you now is say, look, if you like what you've heard, you want some more free materials, please check out the blog on my website, join my email database, and also you can get free access to module 1 of my awesome marketing vault. So if you've got anything for free, now is a really good time to offer it in the sell. The reason why you do that is A, it shows how awesome you are, but B, people won't feel annoyed because it's like, wow, they're giving me so much free content. I'm totally cool with that. So that's just one point I want to make. If you've got something more for free, offer it. But if you don't, that's completely cool. Then what you do is you say to people how to get started and get into you. So because what happens is when you run an event, people will just quite often just fall in love with you and just think that you're wonderful. And you tell them exactly how they can get started. So for example, I'll say here, if you like what you see, we can work on your business right away. You can sign up for my awesome marketing vault right now on my website for $97 a month at www.excellencebuff.com.au. And for more options, please speak to me or check out the mentoring tab on my website. So I've done it right there. I've actually told people exactly what the next steps are. If someone's still not sure yet, a little bit more information, they can check out your free materials. But if they're interested, I've told them exactly how to start. And what will happen is usually they'll speak to you and say, all right, how do I work with you? How does this all come together? Okay. And that works incredibly well. And then what you do is you have a really good close for the event so people love you. So there you go, friends. That is tonight's live webinar. I've cut through to the chase very quickly. Just want to acknowledge all the content I use from different places and all that across pop culture and all that. I just want to say thank you. If you've got any questions, please ask me right now, or you can email me afterwards, and there's my website link there. But while I'm just sort of closing, I just want to give a few just final thoughts from Ed on this one. Have a good think about what you want to do. You're an event. And go Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday. You can do weekends as well. That's a different discussion. But come up with a really good time for your workshop. Really good time. Come up with a really good time. Have really powerful content. Give yourself 4 to 6 weeks. Feel the thing. Meetup is an amazing platform. I really like Meetup. I also like Eventbrite too. Now, Meetup is its own community of itself, and Eventbrite is a great ticket platform. So both work well. And there you go, friends, and please get to work. So there you go. I hope that helps. We've spent a good 33 minutes working very hard together tonight, and I thank you for staying on, you wonderful people. Now, I'm going to finish for the evening. I'm going to wish you all a good evening. If you've got any questions, please ask me right now, and I can answer it. Or if you like, just send me an email afterwards. Because usually most people don't have any questions. They always email me afterwards. I guess it takes time for it to sink in, which sounds good. But thank you for watching. Appreciate the evening, and the recording will be coming out tonight. Stay awesome, friends. Here is to your first event. Kick butt, get it out there, and of course, stay awesome.